Hello, Robert.
Hello, Karen. Thank you for having me. This is Karen, by the way.
Hi.
Thank you so much for having me over again. I'll say again.
I know,
We've
but
tried...
we enjoyed last weekend, didn't we?
We had so much to talk about, and the reason for the delay is because I had to come back and do it again. We didn't get everything, and we were wobbling the camera and all sorts. But that's all right.
We're very amateur, so I was. Terrible.
Yeah, but we're in the right room now. We've got sunlight. It's totally different to how it was last Sunday, wasn't it? Because last Sunday was just tipping with rain. We had a leak. We had everything going on.
Yeah, we did have a leak, and then you couldn't hear what you were saying because the rain was so heavy.
Then we had to move rooms, and that's where we just lost time. And plus, we just got to know each other properly and all that. So Karen has got a lifelong story, 65 years plus. And say, how many years is it? Do you know?
I'm only 65.
So 65 years.
Yeah.
65 years, and you think to yourself, well, how can she be experiencing as a child, like as a baby? But we'll get into that because it's just, I can't even explain. You can explain. I can't explain what we're about to show you guys. So I hope you enjoy this one. Thank you for having me over and for your time. I know you're giving up now 2 days.
That's all right, I'm loving it. It was really lovely the way we met as well, because that was kind of strange because you kind of read something I put on Facebook and then you sent me a friend's request.
So,
and I don't accept them.
No, so what Karen's on about is last year when we first sort of got talking, it was only on social media, and I think there was a post that was put up, someone had written something and you put a reply in, a comment, and I was reading the comment and it really resonated with my research. So I sent you a friend request in the hope that you would accept and maybe we could start talking. And for some reason you did, right?
I felt that I should.
And we started talking.
I've got a very small Facebook, so it's like 200 people, so it's not that big.
Yeah, whether it's me, I just invite anyone and everyone that I've ever known, right?
Yeah, so, just only people I know, really. You know,
But so literally we just got talking randomly and you opened up to me.
Yeah. And you did the same, because we had similar experiences as children with the UFOs.
Yeah.
We did, and yours was so similar to mine, except mine was over a school, and yours was out.
Well, mine was technically over a school and a petrol station, and it was quite large.
Yeah.
But it would have covered that school that I spoke to you about.
Well, we both lost our parents as well. You lost your dad and I lost my mum. About the same time. Yeah. So that's what we were talking about, and then we sort of got onto a lot of other things as well, didn't we? And sort of here we are.
I know, it's strange.
You talked me into...
Look, so this time last year, I didn't have a YouTube channel. I don't think I was even talking to you this time last year. It was probably March time.
Yeah, it was.
So the idea of the YouTube channel coming about, it's this lady's fault.
Well, he said he really would love to get a YouTube channel. So I said, do it. Do it.
Yeah, but I wasn't going to do it until you said just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
I'm not promoting Nike here, by the way. They're not paying us any sponsorship.
No.
But you did just say to me, just do it. And I went, all right then. And that day I created a channel, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. You did.
And I didn't have a clue what I was doing. But here we are. I still don't have a clue what I'm doing, but here we are. So
it's good fun, though. It's been good fun watching you. Your enthusiasm for this subject, you know, with the UFOs and that is amazing. And your knowledge as well.
I can't believe that people aren't enthusiastic about it. How can you not be enthusiastic about another race? You know? And the stuff we're talking about here is so futuristic. Like Star Trek and beyond.
It's happening now, isn't it? It's in the here and now. So we're being made to face it, whether we like it or not. And I think that's a good thing.
I think it is, because something needs to change. Yeah. I mean, we can't just keep living like we have been, like the human race has been for the last 100 years, with
totally
not much progression.
Yeah.
You know, just debt.
Yeah.
The debt's just racking up. There's no progression.
No.
The technology that is being developed isn't getting rolled out to everyone. It's getting rolled out to the rich and who can afford it, right?
Yeah.
Medi beds, the rest of it.
Yeah.
So this is what anyway, the whole reason why me and Karen agreed to do the interview is because ultimately we want to share the right information.
Yeah, as best as we can.
Yeah, as best as we can, share the right information.
Whether folks understand or not, you know, but they can ask questions as well.
Yeah.
We're open to it, aren't we, Robert?
Yeah, if we can help, we can, right? And it's not about the money, although, you know, having subscribers and views makes money, it's not about the money. You know, the only way we can get this information out there is by showing it on some kind of platform, whether it be TV, radio, and that will hopefully go out to the masses. So that's the goal, and that's what we want to do, and we want to help as many people as we can, and we're going to get into that towards the end of the interview. We've got some bombshell announcements we're going to make regarding the Discord server and what we're going to try and do together, and I'm hoping a few other people will get on board as well, so that's exciting times. But so let's get this interview going, Karen. Yeah. You've got a whole life story. Let's start right from the beginning. Like, where are you from? You said you're an experiencer every year of your life, so let's start from year one and jump to the bits that really matter to you.
Well, I live on the south coast of England.
Portsmouth?
Yeah, near Portsmouth. And I was born Fratton Bridge, Southbourne Terrace. I actually remember my birth. I just remember it. And I've always remembered it right from young, the same visions in my head of being born. And then my next memory was 9 days old, visiting my great-grandmother who was dying. And how it came about.
Hang on.
Yeah.
You heard that right. I just want to clarify. 9 days old.
Yeah, 9 days old.
And you remember details of that day?
I do, yeah. Because I sat down and spoke to my mum, and I was telling her the colour of the door.
At 9 days old?
I could remember from 9 days. Well, I was 9 days old and my mum took me to her, and I never saw her after that because she passed away sadly. And I can remember my mum carrying me, and in a lovely shawl that was kind of made by one of my aunties, but I didn't know that obviously. And I can remember going through the front door, and the stairs were right at the top, and I was telling my mum this, and I said, and to the right there was a door, and we went into the room, and there was a bed there. There was really heavy, dark brown kind of curtains that the windows closed, so it was quite a dark room.
You've never been told this? This is just from memory?
Yeah. This is why my mum sort of just sat there with her mouth open. She said, you can't possibly remember it, because all the details I gave my mum were true. You know, absolutely true. And Mum laid me on the bed, and Granny Smith, she nearly killed me. She put some pillows over me. And I can remember actually suddenly everything going darker. Because I said to Mum at the time, you know, I didn't know, but I said there was a stage where everything got darker. You know, so... But,
when you say you said to your mum at the time, how do you mean? Because you're 9 days old.
No, sorry, at the time when we were talking later.
Oh, right, I'm with you.
But she was shocked that I kind of even knew the door was green.
I mean, you're remembering details that you wouldn't remember as a baby.
That's it.
I mean, I've been to the Philippines on the beach with my family as a baby. I've got the pictures.
Yeah.
But I don't remember going there, the trip, arrival, what I had that day.
There was no pictures of me at 9 days old.
And I wasn't 9, I was 2.
Yeah.
And I still don't remember. So 9 days old, and you know what?
Yeah. Well, it's like it was only black and white pictures, and not everybody had a camera back when I was.
No, I mean you wouldn't have had at 9 years old. You're not going to go. Hang on.
So there's no pictures.
Need some evidence.
In amongst all my mum's photographs of me at 9 days old with Granny Smith, in Granny Smith's house, none whatsoever.
No, but it's just
you wouldn't have taken the picture, would you, of somebody who was dying anyway?
No, of course, yeah.
You know, so there was no pictures. So I remember that on my first day at school, I can remember thinking, as clearly as anything I remember, thinking, what on earth am I doing here? And I just sort of really, really did not want to go to school.
Right.
And I really kicked off, according to my mum. But, you know, I really didn't. And then every day that my dad used to drop me off at school, my parents got really worried, because rather than go and talk to other children, I used to walk right across the playground and lean up against a brick wall. Right. And I'd just stand there watching them.
You'd be a watcher, an observer.
I really didn't want to be there. Really and truly not. It just didn't seem right to me.
Uncomfortable?
Yeah, uncomfortable. Yeah, uncomfortable. But then a lot of children feel that way when they first get separated from their mums, don't they? But no, I was just sitting there thinking, well, why am I with all these people? I don't want to be with them. I don't know them, you know. And so that was my earliest memories on that one. And I can remember being at junior school and seeing a UFO.
And was there, I mean, so you went to primary school?
Yes.
You saw...
I went to primary school in Portsmouth, but we'd moved.
Okay.
So we were in a different area.
So you were travelling to and from to get to school then? Like...
No, I didn't go back down to Portsmouth. I started in a little Portsmouth school.
And then you moved...
Near Flatouts Quay it was.
Right.
And then we moved out to a different area.
And then you just relocated
went to another...
there. And that's where you saw your UFO?
Yes.
Did anyone else, like your friends, see it?
Yeah, the whole of the school saw it.
What? The whole of the school? What year was this? Can you remember? Or what school it was?
Well, I was about 8, so if you can calculate that year for me.
8 years old, we will.
Beautiful sunny day. Blue sky, sun shining.
Like this?
Yeah,
lovely
gorgeous.
Day.
Children all on the playing field playing. And the shadow came over. Everything went dark. And we all just looked up.
That's something like out of Independence Day, that is.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. And the teachers just started screaming and panicking and grabbing children.
Yeah,
and
naturally they'd panic.
Of course, the children are just all looking up, and there's this huge object in the sky.
And the whole school, obviously,
Yeah, because we were all out at playtime, the teachers were there.
No way.
The teachers
this
that
is
weren't
something
there.
You would hear out of like a school in Zimbabwe or something.
Yeah. Well, the teachers that weren't out on the playground at that time, on the fields, came running out anyway, and they were just grabbing children. I just remember being pulled along, but still looking up and seeing this huge saucer.
Round?
Huge. Yeah,
round object.
Round
Metallic
object.
or?
Yeah.
Or black or?
No, we're like silver.
Silvery,
silvery,
like sun was shining off of it.
Yeah. But it covered the whole of the playing field. And it was above us. It was quite high up.
Yeah.
But it sort of covered.
Depending on where the sun was, you would have got your shadow.
So I'm little looking up.
Yeah. You probably just thought, what the hell?
Well, I think we were kind of, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. You know. And why were the teachers panicking? You know, why were they panicking?
An exciting time, but a curious one.
So we all got dragged into school, and then our parents took us home. And
so everyone got picked up?
Yes, everyone
School
got
was
picked
like,
up.
we're done for the day?
Yeah, that's it, done for the day.
What?
So, Mum and Dad never spoke about it. It was kind of really strange. And I was
Probably triggered them.
Yeah, well, I was 16, and my younger brother, Paul, he was about 8 at the time, and he was at the same school that I was at, and the same thing happened. The actual same thing. A craft went over the school.
Day?
Yeah. Well, this was like years and years later. So I was 16 when it happened to him, and he was 8.
We definitely. I want to look at the location of this place. Wow.
Well, the odd thing about that one is that they had to evacuate the school again, and everybody was told that that night they had to stay in their houses. I know. And I can remember this. I remember getting in from work, and Mum said, we've just had a really strange thing. What happened to you when you were a child? And, you know, and your brother's here, and, you know. And we saw loads of lorries arriving, and they had, like, equipment on them. And there was a woodland over the back
This
where we lived.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because there was something in the area, obviously, for it to turn up more than once.
Well, one of the neighbours, I remember him turning around and saying, no, they're from Salisbury Plains. Right.
What, the trucks?
Yeah, all the trucks and whatever from Salisbury Plains.
Yeah, there's a lot of underground stuff going on.
Yeah. So we just sort of, all our lights was turned off, so we had no power.
Wow.
So, and all we could see was these huge spotlights going through the woods. So it was like, somebody said, well, possibly whatever it was at the school went that way, and they're hoping to capture it. But this was like, I would say, quite a few hours later than what it actually happened.
And they cut the power.
Yeah, and they cut the power in our houses. And they were there till really, really late at night, walking through the woods, doing whatever they do.
I mean, that's unusual, isn't it?
Yes.
That's unusual. Because if it was a criminal investigation, there would just be a few police helicopters and it would be over and done with. They wouldn't be out there at midnight looking.
No, they wouldn't.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That whole
but
school saw
everybody was talking about it, but nobody gave any real information.
It probably lasted 2 weeks and then it just died off, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happens these days. Is the story gets told, it's news for a day or two, and then it just dies off slowly.
Yeah, it does.
Everybody goes with the drones and everything else.
People sort of have a little chat about it. The neighbours were sort of, the following day chatting over the fence like they used to back in the 70s. But, you know, then no more was spoken about it.
So
people just didn't talk about it. It was like, it happened, whatever it was, it doesn't matter.
And it was large, like, I mean, obviously it was large because it made a shadow over the school, but how big would you say it was?
Well, I was little. I'd say really quite big. You think of a school playing field. School playing fields are quite big, aren't they? You know, I don't know how big, because all different sizes,
but a football pitch?
Bigger than that.
Bigger?
Yeah, bigger than that. So it was right over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's similar to a sort of size I saw.
Yes.
Just a big object, big round disc.
Yeah,
covered half the town.
You were walking with your dad, weren't you, at the time?
Yeah, we stopped and got out of the car.
Yeah.
Because we saw other cars had stopped. But my dad, and for anyone that knows my dad, he used to drive, and he'd be looking like this, normally trying to roll a fag and eat a packet of crisps at the same time, right? And he'd always be looking out the window. And I used to say, eyes on the road, but I know now, and I told you on the way down here, I was eyes out on the window in the sky. Yeah. And he used to be the same. And he always claimed he saw a UFO in the 50s, a tic-tac UFO. You know, but back then you couldn't say to your mum or dad, I saw a UFO, because they would just go, you're nuts. Yeah. You know, so he just kept quiet. But he would always be, everywhere he went, eyes on the sky. Now I know why. Because he swears he saw something one day and it just never left him, and he's always been trying to look. Yeah. And so, when we pulled over, we saw a row of cars all looking over the town where I lived, and there was just a big disc hovering over Maidenhead, right in the centre. And
they're not like flat in the sky, they sort of tilt a bit, don't they? I mean, I
couldn't
remember
tell with this one, because it was my one. It was like a huge dip, but it was only because we was elevated on a place called Winter Hill, and we could see over the town, and it was above the cloud. Yeah. So it was a disc, cloud, drop down, land. Yeah. And it was like that cloud. We could see electrical shoots coming off the top of it, hitting the bottom of this UFO, like an electric storm underneath it. But anyone directly below the cloud, if they'd looked up, they would have just seen cloud. Yeah. They wouldn't have seen the saucer.
Yeah, because you were higher up.
We was just 3 miles out of the town and higher up, and was looking over, and everyone that was there, I think there was about 3 cars, and they were all looking at this one object.
Amazing.
Pitch black, but there were no lights coming off of it. Yeah. It was just a sort of disc. So anyway.
So that was that. With our UFO experience, so that was a synchronicity we kind of had, wasn't it, really?
It wouldn't have even surprised me if it was like the same object, just appearing at a different time. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it could well do, you know. So that was kind of interesting. That was quite interesting. Again, at 8 years old, because my family, I come from an alternative upbringing. So when I say alternative, it was basically that my dad, I always felt, and I know now, was a man before his time. Just a normal worker, you know. And my mother obviously didn't work, and they were both lovely people, really lovely. And we struggled like most families on council estates, but we had a really good childhood, you know, real good fun. And my dad taught me at a very young age how to fix bird wings and look after animals and grow plants.
Close with nature and...
Yeah, really, my dad was very much into nature, very, very much into nature and gardening. So we always grew our own food, potatoes and everything, and I helped him look after it because I was really interested in the same things and loved helping the little birds, or, you know, I mean, there was a situation where a little bird had fallen out of the nest, and my dad gave it to me and he said, it's going to die. And I said, well, it might not. We can fix it. And it did pass away in the night. And I took the bird into my dad and I said, Dad, I said, you really do need to help this little bird because it's very cold and stiff. Which was, you know, and I was quite upset because I was only young.
But he kind of knew it was...
Yeah, he knew it was going to happen. But he let me wake up every hour to feed this little bird, you know. But no, so he was a man before his time, because when I was 16 he sat down and told me loads of stuff. And
so he knew some things.
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah, he was very much what I call awake, you know, very much.
What you would consider now of his third eye was open.
Yeah, That's it, you know. I mean, what we're experiencing now, and he actually did say, you know, he said, I believe it's going to happen in your lifetime.
Did he say that?
Yes, he did. And he said, this is why you need to be aware.
Yeah.
You need to be aware of everything.
Lucky.
So, you know,
lucky.
Yeah.
Really,
yeah.
because...
Very lucky.
If you're brought up in a household that's completely closed off to this, it's more of a shock.
Yeah. I don't know if it was something to do with, like, mum's side of the family, and I actually believe my dad was kind of psychic as well, but mum's side of the family come from lines of psychics.
Right.
And seeing spirit, and most of them could talk to spirits. So, you know, that's the kind of atmosphere I grew up in. So they were kind of alternative back then.
Did you used to see, like, them perform different things? Or
Never saw my nan perform. No, I didn't. No, I didn't see them. But my nan would do tea leaves.
So you knew they were into it.
Yeah,
they just kept you from all that.
Yeah.
I guess for a while. But
well, it was the fact of when I started seeing spirit at the age of 3, and I had a spirit friend, and my life became very crowded because I knew there was lots of people around, you know, like you and I.
That's the dog, by the way, trying to
yes,
get it.
It's my
Literally,
dog
is on the handle trying to pull it down. I know you want love, mate. I know you do. It's fine. My audience are quite used to my cats jumping in.
Yeah, so. Yeah. No, that's Bramble, my beagle.
Bless him. I'll show a picture on the screen of the dogs, if that's all right. If you can send me a picture of the dogs.
I will
as soon as they've interrupted.
They're both sitting here looking in, aren't they?
Yeah. Beautiful dogs as well.
Naughty. Yeah. So no, my world became very busy because I started seeing spirit.
You just want to touch on, you said you had a spirit friend?
Yes, I did, called Johnny.
Johnny. And what did the spirit friend look like?
He was very tall because Mum said that I used to walk around with my hand in the air, holding his hand, obviously, and he used to have to come for dinner and tea. And I would talk to him all the time and play with him. And I'd sort of, you know, you lose track on that, don't you? You sort of, you know, you're little, and the doctor told my mum, it's because she's lonely. If you have another baby, the imaginary friend will go away.
Yeah.
But I don't believe he did for a very, very long time, and I mean,
walking around like that is going to give you an arm ache, right? Yeah, unless you're holding on to someone's hand.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
You know, but lots of children have them. And parents sometimes don't take any notice. And
they try not to.
My mum and dad just kind of went with it.
Yeah.
So mum was sort of okay, you know, that we just
could
go
be
with
something
this.
there.
Yeah, there could be.
Yeah.
And my nan sort of really believed there was. So, and I started seeing spirit walking amongst people. So, like, say you were walking around a shopping centre, I would see the human people, but I'd also be following them spirits. So my world was really busy.
And when you say when you say you saw spirits, like translucent figures or actual physical people that looked like they were there?
Some were quite stronger than others. Some of them are like sort of, you know, the shape of the person.
But you wouldn't see any detail.
Yeah, wouldn't see any detail. And others you could see the detail. Only if you get close, if they went like that to look at you.
Yeah.
It was
it's almost like if they allowed you
the
to see
face popping out of thin air going, looking. You know, because they know you.
What, literally like that?
Yeah,
some Harry Potter stuff.
Yeah,
like just pops into reality. Hiya, and then boom.
Yeah. And
folks, for anyone who is really on the fence with this, go and have a look at Dr. Stephen Greer, DPRI archive. He goes through a story where similar thing happens to one of his friends. Sorry to interrupt. And this being that looks like a bird, it's like a humanoid bird, just pops its head out of a bush and has a full-on conversation with these two guys. And the guy that he's actually talking to is deaf. So it's telepathy that this being is using. And the story is, the next day this guy regained his hearing. And it was a healer that he was talking to.
Absolutely amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. So when people hear this from Karen, Karen's not the first to say this. We're not, you know, it's just a...
Well, no, because there's generations, isn't there, of people that are seers and, you know, but as we got more technical, things like natural gifts, they kind of set back, don't they? They disappear because we're busy watching the TV. I do remember the first TV. Or
eating sugars or salts and just putting stuff in our body that's stopping us from the distractions.
Yeah, that's it. So my life was busy, you know. And there were sometimes I was like really frightened, you know, especially at night. Because when it was dark, they're clearer. They're clearer, you know, you can actually see them better. But when you have a light on, it makes them more transparent.
See, this is why I've always wondered, why do people film in the dark? And I'm going to stop saying that now, because for me, UAP evidence is better in the daytime. But people film in the dark because they see stuff in the dark.
Yes.
And that makes our job a lot harder as an analyst, because it's like, is it a street light? Is it a helicopter light? Is it a, you know?
No, I've always sort of filmed mostly in the dark.
Yeah,
when I did my psychic photography, the whole series that I went through with that, I always do at night. I do take some during the day.
The best UAP video I have came from you and Kit.
Yeah, during the day.
And it was taken during the day.
Broad daylight, blue sky.
Yeah.
Just nothing, you know, no clouds, nothing.
I mean...
And we actually saw that with our own eyes.
I'll just play that in the corner of the screen here while we're talking. Yeah. This was taken by Karen.
Kit, my son-in-law.
Oh, wait, it was taken by your son-in-law Kit, but you were stood with him.
Yeah, I was stood with him.
And you said you was going to capture this, what, 2 weeks before? Or
well,
something, 3 weeks before?
No, it was actually on the day, because I actually sent, on the day, I got up on that particular day.
But you messaged me, like, before you even went to
Wales. I said I wouldn't be surprised if when I go to Wales, I'll capture something.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised.
But that was 3 weeks before you even went.
Yeah.
And then you... Yeah, sorry, carry on, and then...
So on the day I was watching a plane spray in the sky, should I say that? And I got really, really cross, because it was a beautiful day, and I just said, for goodness sake, if you're up there, star beings, just do something about this.
You even messaged me and said something about that.
Yeah, so do something about it. And of course, when I went out, Kit was sort of already with the camera at the sky, because he was watching this plane. You know, and with all this stuff coming out of it. And we were sort of standing, and I was standing next to him, and I just said, it sort of moved quite fast, and we kind of lost it, and I went, well, where's it gone? Oh, there it is, and we saw it with our own eyes.
The white object that I've just shown?
Yeah.
Did you see any of the black objects?
No.
You didn't see none of them?
No, because we were focused on that one particular...
On that white object.
So Kit was trying to keep his camera following it.
And you just seen the clip, guys, that the amount that's up there in that moment, all them little black objects and the orbs that are zipping past, and you didn't see none of them?
No.
You just saw that white object.
That one.
And that's because it was slowly moving up to the sky. And
that's it, and we were watching the plane as well.
Yeah, and it was actually more visible because it was larger, I think, than the other objects.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Well, yeah, because it was easy to track.
It didn't look like much on camera, but...
Once you found it, you know, with your own eyes, you were able to track it.
Yeah, depending on how far away that thing was. It could have been like the size of a plane, for all we know.
Yeah.
Because it looked like a tiny dot on the screen, but so did the plane.
Yeah. I know, when you showed me the actual video, I was actually really surprised how much was in it. The portals opening.
You were surprised?
Yeah.
Can you imagine a lady saying, I'm going to take a picture of a UFO and send it to you in 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, and then I receive a message and I'm like... and I'm the first set of eyes on it, right? On the big screen.
Yeah.
My whole life changed that day.
We only had it on a phone.
My whole life changed that day.
Yeah, it did.
You know, so...
For the better.
We're not there yet.
Nearly.
I don't know.
Nearly there, Robert.
So, I mean, just to wrap up, let's try and wrap up because we're at 3 years.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Went from 9 days to 3 years.
Yeah.
So school. You left school.
Yeah, left school. I worked in a factory when I left school. I was waiting to go to art college.
What got you into a factory then?
It was a bit of money.
Because that's not typical,
I did some potato picking as well, you know, because from 14 I was working. Back then we could get jobs.
If you was out in the field potato picking, the UFOs would have been all over you probably.
Not that I saw any of them.
No.
So and I worked at Butlins as well.
No, holiday resort?
Yeah,
I bet that was fun.
Yeah, chambermaid.
Oh, you must have had a blast.
Yeah, £4.10 a day.
That's good.
Yeah, it was
it's really good for them.
Yeah, it was pretty good. You know,
that's really good.
The reason I worked at the factory because I was waiting to go into art college. However, I loved the factory. I, absolutely loved it. Spent most of my my age at 17 standing on the front line, protesting for health and safety in the workplace.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but back then there was a lot of problems with a lot of businesses.
Somebody had lost their life in the factory that I worked in, you know.
That's ridiculous.
There was no guards on anything. So to me back then, it was kind of a good thing. And of course, with my dad being kind of that way as well, you know, his daughter has to be on the front line.
Someone's got to, someone's got to be, absolutely.
You know, always a bit of a feisty girl.
Yeah, and I know you got yourself into some trouble as well, which we'll get into.
I did at 14, didn't I? Because at the psychic side of the family obviously reached me.
Yeah.
And this lady spirit was chatting away to me. And she's saying, you're going to see your friend, you know, my granddaughter. I want you to give my daughter a message, blah, blah, blah. So I got into the house and the mother's there and I said, I got your mum here. And her face, she absolutely went white. And I started giving the message and then she freaked out.
Because the message
absolutely
really
freaked
resonated,
out.
right?
Yeah, she freaked out and started hollering at me and shouting at me and calling me a
witch?
Demon child, a witch, yes, she did. Because I did ask my dad what a witch was, and he said, it's just somebody that loves working with nature.
Basically invited you over expecting nothing.
Yeah.
And got the shock of her life.
Well, I went to pick up my friend. We were going out.
Yeah.
So I had to go in and give this message, because when these messages come through, especially when you've got no filter, have you, when you're a young person? You don't have a filter. You
don't realise what is acceptable to say in society.
So I can see this lady's mum, and I can hear her not realising at that time that the mother couldn't really, you know, I don't know, I can't remember what I was thinking at 14, but I just motor-mouthed this message out because the spirit was insistent that I did, which frightened the mother, and I learnt a very big lesson that day, because I always used to say to my friends, so-and-so's going to be here in a minute, they're going to be wearing this and their first words are going to be that. Right?
You used to predict what they were going to be wearing.
Yeah, I did.
And they'd turn up with it on.
Yeah, and the friends used to find that, you know, friends of my age group found that quite funny. But of course the mother
was like,
and that made me realise the difference between the two. And I kind of thought, I don't want to do that anymore, because I upset my friend's mum. And I saw her cry and I thought...
It's the realisation, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not going to,
genuine pain.
Yeah, you know, and you sort of take a step back.
Yeah,
as best as you can.
It would make you take a step back, because you don't want to be putting people through that shock and pain.
No, you just don't. And I mean, I was young, and no one had ever told me any different.
You learned the hard way, right?
Yeah, I did, and I felt bad. You know, I felt bad.
I think it was necessary.
Yes, I think so, because when you're going around doing all this stuff, it's not... Well, back then it seemed quite normal to me, but it's not, is it really?
Yeah, I mean, you don't know how many lives you affected and in what way.
No, that's it.
Maybe the person wasn't ready to hear what they heard and they disappeared off the face of the planet.
Well, you know that when you're an adult, don't you? You just don't know it when you're sort of like 14.
Yeah. And
back in the 70s, we were young 14-year-olds. We weren't like the 14-year-olds nowadays.
Like mature.
No, we weren't mature
actual
at all.
Kids, you know.
You know, we were running around climbing trees and going on rope swings, you know what I mean?
Oh, I was a 90s kid, and I was up conker trees and jumping off hay bales and all that stuff, and getting into quarries and that.
Yeah. But no, so, you know, I've sort of... My beginnings is like being able to see the spirit and sort of... getting messages and...
Yeah, crazy time to be understanding that. But at the same time, if you're going to fully understand it, start young.
Yeah, that's right.
It's catch-22, isn't it?
And it's kind of good having relatives, because then when you do say things when you're amongst family, that's accepted. It's when you do it with strangers.
Yes.
You know? So, and obviously, you know, now since my mum's passed, the family is sort of... I've got one uncle left and one auntie.
Right.
Out of 11 children, and all their husbands or wives as well.
It's dwindled down.
Yeah, it's dwindled down. Yes.
Well, you've extended the family.
Since... Yeah. I've had children myself. So. And my cousins.
The bloodline continues.
Yeah, it does, and And my son's quite very psychic, and his son is seeing spirit now, which is kind of good, you know, because I can go round and sit and talk and reassure and.
Runs in my family as well.
Yeah.
So like, and I'm sure there'll be viewers out there that are like, damn, my nan said this, and my mum said this, and I know someone who's delves into this, and we still have to be careful though, right? Because there's a lot of people that don't understand it, yet they perceive to be experts in the field, and they still don't understand what they're looking at. They're just getting information from people, right? And we can't have that, and this is kind of why. Again, we want to do this because we want to the best of our ability, best of our knowledge, give the right information as to what is and what isn't. We can't tell you exactly what these things are, but we can tell you what is present in the planet and what isn't. And things like remote viewing, you know, astral projection, all these things are real, and there are so many people in the world that are completely on the fence or wouldn't even know what the term means.
No. Well, I mean, I suppose due to what I was seeing when I was young, that's why I got very interested at one stage of paranormal investigator.
Because it's linked, right? It's linked.
Yeah, well, that's it. It was something I grew up with, and it was within me. So I became a paranormal investigator with a group, Paranormal Hampshire it was, ran by a most beautiful lady called Elaine.
All right, so credentials. So basically, like, what are all your credentials from your first job right up to your last and everything in between?
Potato picker.
Potato picker.
Potato picker. And
that's an important one. People
chalet
need to
maid.
eat.
Chalet maid.
Chalet maid.
Yes.
How old was you when you were a chalet?
14.
14.
14.
Wow,
yes.
so you're getting some early work experience in there.
Yes.
Chalet maid, potato picker. I mean, this is old school jobs, right?
Yeah,
We're talking
it
60
is.
years ago,
Yeah.
55.
Yeah, that's it. And I had a placement to go into art college, and in the meantime, during the school holidays, but I'd left school then, I worked in a factory, and absolutely loved it.
Just one of them girls?
Yeah,
like, just like to get a little bit.
Absolutely loved it.
A little bit physical and.
Yeah, it was just amazing. Making loudspeakers, actually.
Oh, cool.
That's where I worked.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's ever done factory work, you know what it's like.
Yeah.
It's cold sometimes. It's a bit dingy, but it's hard work.
And it was at that time that everyone was going on strike as well.
Right.
So we were always on strike, and there I was, front line, always. Absolutely loved it. You know, fighting for health and safety in the workplace.
Yeah. Well, you said that, so there was an accident there, right?
Well, so I ended up staying there until I got married.
Okay.
Because I loved it, and I didn't go to art college, and my dad was really disappointed, but hey ho, you know, the money was good. It was
how many, apart from rich kids, how many families plan like education, higher education, and don't end up doing it, do they?
No, and it's really lucky because apparently the art college in Portsmouth town itself was quite a hard one to get into, and I got in on 3 pieces of work.
Oh,
and my dad was so proud.
There you go.
You know, but I just didn't go. And then after I got married, I just started my nurse training. So I wanted to be an SRN. So I worked at St Mary's Hospital, and the old-fashioned uniforms with the cloak that was red on the inside and blue out the side, and the funny hats. Absolutely loved it. Fell pregnant whilst I was training, and back then you couldn't actually go back to work. You know, they allow them to go back, but back then you couldn't. It was a different
time.
So I was near enough at the end of my training when I fell pregnant, and that's it.
Done with it.
Yeah, done. So I became a mum. There was a big old gap. But then when my daughter was 3 months old, I worked for British Telecom as a union rep.
I think everyone's worked for a telecommunications company at some point, right? Yes. Even me, I've just left one. So
yes, definitely.
So BT, you worked for BT.
Worked for BT.
A very normal job.
Yeah. Well, it was just online doing the phone bills.
Okay, so
never found my own though to throw away.
Funny that, and I bet that went to another department.
It's you know. And then my husband of that time came out of the Navy, and we trained in the public house trade. So Gary was already a consultant. No. He was already a caterer in.
I could hear the C word coming out, and I was wondering, okay, caterer.
Yeah, just.
Of course, you said army.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh, did I say army?
Well, you said military.
Oh yeah, military. He was in navy.
Navy, right? Okay.
Yes. So.
So he was a chef, did you say, essentially?
Yes, yeah. He was to start off with.
Okay.
And then the youngest to reach petty officer, I believe, in the catering department. So we ran pubs for quite a long time, and that was quite interesting, many years. And then after our marriage ended, sadly, it was a little while, and I went back to college and trained in construction. I know. Well, originally I went there to do interior design, and so did this other girl. But they didn't have enough people to go on the course, so they put us on construction. So it wasn't my first choice. However...
Right. You just got into brickwork, right?
That's it. I absolutely loved it. It was on site with 70 men. It was great fun.
You had the men doing the hodding, though, and picking up bricks.
No. I carried cement. And
really?
It was hard going back then because, you're talking, I was in my 40s.
Of course. It's a very physical, demanding job. Yeah.
So you have to really prove yourself. Yeah. You can't turn around and say, can you carry that cement for me?
Yeah, you have to just got to crack on, right?
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, if you want the foreman
and
to
if
kick
the
you on.
ladder's too high, like 30 foot in the air or whatever, the scaffold, you've still got to climb it, you've still got to build it.
Yeah, sure.
And take it down.
Sure.
So you had to work extra hard being a woman. One, you don't really normally have the physical strength. And my area was mostly painting and decorating because my grandfather was a master painter and decorator. So because nobody else in the family has done painting and decorating, I'm now a master painter and decorator, according to my lecturer at the time.
Right.
Whilst I was working at the college, at Highbury College, I got spotted by a teacher trainer who suggested that I went into lecturing.
Teaching?
Yeah, teaching. Yeah. He said, you're a natural. So I thought about it, and I thought, I'll give it a go. So then I started teaching construction to 14 to 16-year-old boys.
Okay.
Which, the ones that got expelled from school, bless their hearts.
Sure, and I bet they walked in and went, hey?
Well, they were no good with the men. That was the thing. What happened was that they'd throw their boots at the men lecturers.
Right.
But they never did it to me.
No. And you could actually teach them about construction.
Yes.
Which is something they needed to learn at the time, right?
Yeah, that's right. So that's how I ended up doing that.
Crazy.
That particular job. When I left there, I started working for Shaw Trust as with special educational needs adults.
Yeah.
Getting them ready to go back to work, teaching them how to care for themselves.
And communicate with people again and all that.
And I was doing their MVQ training as well at the same time. So that was a really, really nice job. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, getting a lot of lives back on track.
Yeah. And that was kind of the place where my experiences all began when I was working here.
What does that say?
Oh, right, Shaw Trust.
Oh, Shaw Trust.
It was my last job because for quite a while I didn't work because I had my near-death experience. I had my walking experience. So this is where the fun really starts for you. I say fun, the craziness starts for you. Yeah. But we could actually carry on reading this show.
Yeah, carry on going through the credentials.
I had quite a bit of time off work. Then I went back to work as a school escort. And in amongst all that, I was a trustee for 2 charities, a Kids Alchemy and Better Than Today project for young people. Mm-hmm. So I helped out there. And then going on to my spiritual journey, which kind of came during the time I was working with Shaw Trust.
Okay.
Even though I was quite spiritual with the psychic ability and that beforehand.
So this is like, how old were you roughly around the time you worked for Shaw Trust? You say around the 40s?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was.
You'd very much lived a life, and now your working life is properly kicking in.
Yes, that's it. You basically, don't you have a good bit before you have your children and get married, and then you have this big gap, and then you go back to work. Well, that's how it was when I got married. It's sadly not so good now for younger people. Yes, so because of what happened to me when I worked for Shaw Trust, which we will be getting into later, I started looking into alternative ways of healing the body and learning about it. I was already sort of doing readings and
really
stuff like that. Yeah,
digging now.
Yeah, so I took an interest in Reiki like thousands of other people did, but back then it was kind of just starting out. And I eventually, after my training, became a Reiki master teacher of 4 different practices, Reiki practices.
So you learned 4 different sections within the Reiki practice itself.
Yes,
and who did you learn?
Well, I had teachers.
Because you don't just go to the library and learn that stuff, do you?
No. You actually, I had a really good teacher.
Someone that had been doing it for a while.
Yeah, started doing it for a while. There's some paperwork to do and stuff like that. And
proper vetting and
stuff. Yeah, it's like going back to school, really.
Yeah,
so there's proper training.
Yeah, okay.
It's proper training. And then I sort of got into psychic readings, and I would do some, like, not tarot readings, but I love doing card readings for people.
Okay, so once you did the Reiki, you realised that you had, you always kind of knew you had some kind of psychic ability anyway, but I guess with the Reiki helped you channel that?
Yeah, it did. It was I always say my experience, which we're going to talk about, was kind of one of the worst things to happen to me, but one of the best.
Yeah.
But Reiki saved my life.
Right.
Literally saved my life and enabled me to balance my body. Yeah.
Because it's like any job, I guess. I mean, the moment you then go into psychic stuff, that means that you've mastered psychic ability. Because I wouldn't become a taxi driver if I didn't know the area.
Yeah, that's right.
So you wouldn't become a psychic master if you didn't have a psychic...
Well, I kind of tapped back into it after many years of not bothering.
Right, because you've got...
when you're married with children, you just don't.
Yeah.
Then I became part of a paranormal team, and I was a paranormal investigator. I loved that. We had some great fun.
I bet that was exciting times as well. The planning of it, knowing where you was going to go.
Yeah.
Did you find anything?
Yes, we did a number of times. So that's stories for another time, I think.
Yeah, sure. Maybe we'll share some photos if we can dig some out for you guys.
And then I realised I got into psychic photography, which for me...
You'll have to explain that one to the audience.
Okay, psychic photography was my own thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's my own thing. I mean, I know there is some psychic photographers out there since, but way back then there kind of wasn't. And I noticed that when I took photographs, I could capture different dimensions, or I could capture beings. Was
there something special with the camera, or was it just happening to you?
It was just an old Nikon camera that was second-hand, given to me by my father-in-law, and it was just a really, really old one.
Okay.
Because we didn't sort of have, back then, at this time I'm talking about, we were on dial-up. Yahoo was the only group that was on AOL.
So Yahoo was the first search engine for people. I remember those days. I remember those days. They were 25 years ago, but they were...
That's right. So the camera was older than that. So it's just a basic Nikon camera.
And do you think it would... Because obviously you could take that camera and take pictures all around the world. Do you think you'd get the same result everywhere, or do you think it was specific to that area as well? Do you think, like...
some areas are stronger than others.
Right, because you wouldn't take the camera...
And it's like when you're on a paranormal investigation, some houses or some areas
some locations
are stronger,
are just better to go to.
So then, you can sort of pick up better. And the camera did pick it up. It really did pick up loads of... Like, it's almost like...
Images
Sorry.
I was actually picturing in my head what I'm showing on the screen while you're talking, so I want to make sure, because we've got images of like stuff that you've taken on the camera, so I'm going to show that as we talk. But
yeah, that's right. So I just sensed there was just something more there, more that I could actually photograph and capture. So with that intent of capturing something, I'd go along, take photographs, and I would pick up some strange stuff.
And with intent, you would capture.
Yeah, most definitely. Most of my photographs were done here in this garden, which is something else we're going to talk about later anyway. So,
stay tuned, because there's portals in this very garden. 3 portals, right?
Yes.
3 portals in the garden. That's not worth watching, then I don't know what is. But
and I was extremely lucky as well to come across 4 shamans, all practicing different forms of shamanism, and who gifted me the gift of teaching me.
So 4
shamans.
Where were they from? Do you
Well, the first one rolled up when I was working in the public house trade. And
it just walked in?
Yeah. Well, basically, no. I looked, and there was an old lady that lived in the cottage on the corner, and she was poorly. Now, I didn't think she had any family, and I knew she was dying. So I used to take her food from the pub. We used to cook her a nice dinner and
just look after her.
Yeah, just generally look after her. And then her son rolled up with this long leather coat on and a hat with a feather, and he said he thanked me, obviously, and he said, "Mum says you go for walks up to the woodland every day with your dog. Would you mind if I join you?" And he taught me naturally. It was so lovely. It was so natural. He talked about shape-shifting into trees and stuff, and I kind of had a gist of what he was saying, so he kind of knew that I'd been on my spiritual path. But he actually taught me how to shape-shift so that you become part of the tree. And connecting with plants, which I already was connected with, but he took it to a deeper level. So he taught me quite a lot, and he made me a set of rooms. I didn't know what he was doing. He was carving while we were walking and talking in the woods and connecting. And then when his mother passed away, sadly, he gave me this whole set of hand-carved runes that he made me.
And we're going to have to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
He said that he taught you how to morph.
Yes.
With the tree.
Yes.
Let's explain that.
It's all to do with energy. It's all about energy, and it's feeling the energy of the tree.
So when you say morph, you don't actually physically mean you turning into the tree. But
No,
feeling
you don't
what the tree is feeling.
Yeah, you don't turn into the tree.
We have to say this because people will run away with their imagination
suddenly thinking that I became a tree.
And you are not a tree.
No, I'm not a tree.
But you suddenly was connected to the tree in an energetic way.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
And the roots, yes, in an energetic way.
And he taught you how to do that.
I mean, sometimes you felt like you could put your hand through it. It's sometimes where
you
see
the
energy.
You see that it's an energy.
Yes.
And then you realise that an energy is not physical, and you feel like
you
could push
So it's the tree energy and your own energy working together and banding together.
See, these are details that a lot of people would not explain but may have experienced.
I've done it in its simplest term.
Yeah.
But
I mean, without an explanation, people are just going to assume that is just crazy. But the way you explain it there.
Yeah. Well, he introduced the Fae as well. And
don't get me started on the Fae.
No, I know.
Don't get me started on. So, folks, for anyone who watched the Fae video, and I'm going to play it for you guys right now, it was taken in East Texas, Palestine Lake from Tony Franklin, and you can see they look like fairies, right?
Yeah.
And what happened when I found this video? It was like 11 o'clock at night, and I called you, and I just flipped out.
Yeah, you did. This is just a
Fae.
It's a Fae.
There's fairies. Oh.
I was waiting for the fairies to appear.
I still struggle with that one.
He does.
But then the woman I trust the most with this subject turns around to me and says, "Yeah, they're real. As casual as you like. Yeah, that's a fairy." And I'm like, Tony, if you're watching, you got fairies. Just say.
You got fairies.
You got fairies.
Yeah. Just looked like Tinkerbell, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like what you saw on Disney kind of fairy.
It looked like it almost looked like it had I say it, she, he, whatever it was. It looked like it had a wand in its
well, I think she had a little dress on, didn't she? She had a dress, a long one, but it was a dress.
You're going to have to help me out here because this is what we saw. If you watched the video just then, it's a fucking fairy. Anyway. Look, I'd love for them to be real.
Yeah.
And
they are.
But you've got to understand, the people that are watching this are like, I'd love them to be real too, but let's be real. But watch the video, make it out. Let me know in the comments what you think. But I got told these things are real.
Yeah, they are.
And they were flying around with UAP as well.
Yes, they were, weren't they? Yeah, they're all in on it.
So here's where I.
The Fae realm. The orb realm.
Here's where I'm trying to connect the dots, right? When we see these white objects that look like fairies flying around with UAP that we see every day in the skies, these dragon UAP, hockey pucks, whatever, and we know the hockey pucks are real, we have to look at these things seriously and take what people like Karen are saying seriously. And I think that's where the reason why we do this is to get people to come forward because we know there are more people out there.
I think more people are open now.
Yeah.
Many more are open.
Yeah.
And then lots of people wanting to learn lots of different things. We've seen within the spiritual world, as teacher and trainers and what have you, we've seen an influx that goes through waves. Everybody was interested in Reiki, and then suddenly people move on from that and get interested in it.
It's like a craze, the new thing.
It's the new thing. All beautiful, all absolutely beautiful, and always about helping others as well.
You feel like the timing's right?
Yeah.
With this year, with what's coming, right?
Oh, definitely. Most definitely. We're sort of going through the grand awakening now, and it's exciting. It's absolutely exciting.
Your dad said that you'd be in your lifetime,
yes. And fortunately, things are taking another turn. My dad always thought it would go down one route and one route only, but it's not. There's this pathways coming, isn't there? There's this twist that way. You know, some people are going that way, but the majority of people are now coming this way, which means that they're sort of researching more and learning more and waking up.
More basically. Interviews like this are happening.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really whack time, 2025.
I think it's really wacky now.
I think people have even forgotten that a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, this was not really spoken about too much.
Not too much. You'd come across it on Facebook.
There would be the odd one. There'd be the odd group and stuff, but you wouldn't have lots of people, podcasts openly talking about UAP because, well, certainly 10 years ago, there was a few. I mean, David Icke. Don't know if you've ever read anything on David Icke.
Kind of sort of halfway read.
Yeah, I mean, he was almost taken half seriously until he mentioned the lizard man.
Yes.
And then it's like his credentials went right down because that can't be true, right?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it is true.
Yeah.
You know, who knows?
That's it.
And yeah. Anyway, so this guy, feather in a hat.
Yeah.
Tells you and teaches you everything you could possibly ask from him.
So naturally, just walking along,
just casually. And you didn't feel like you was in any danger going off with this guy into the woodland area. He just went for a nice walk, and he was genuine and told you everything you needed to know. Yeah. And he almost felt like he needed to, I guess. Yeah. He went out of his way, right?
Yeah, I was very lucky. Very lucky.
Call it coincidence. Call it what you want.
Well, I mean, you know, there was him, and then the other two shamans. One was a beautiful Scottish man who was absolutely brilliant at drumming. He used to do like drum circles, and there were certain beats to the drum and the way that it was done. And so I worked with him, worked alongside him, helping him, and at the same time receiving training. And the third one was a feather healer, an actual shamanic healer. Actually, there was 4 of them. 3. Yeah, he was a shamanic healer, and he would do feather healing. And he was so good at it, so he taught me how to heal with a feather. And the feather does a strange thing. You have it on your hand, which is like the normal kind of way. Okay. When you go over the body,
this is totally
if there's a problem somewhere, the feather flips over, and then it will flip back, flip over.
So it's almost like a way of telling the magnetic field between you and
where the difference is,
if there's
where
a fluctuation, it'll
that's it. Yeah.
What? See, now before, like when you said feather healing, I was like, what? Trying to calculate what that could mean. Only when you explained it then did I fully understand what was happening. And this is what needs to be explained. I'm so glad we're doing this because there are things that people say that just sound crazy, but until it's properly explained, it just doesn't come out, does it?
It's just really lovely, you know, drum healing and feather healing.
And the drum part of it, and I'm glad you just mentioned that. So the drum part of it, it's all about noise and vibration. And those drums make a nice boom vibration when they're drummed, right?
But they will change. They actually change frequency and sound.
Sure.
So when you're starting working down a person's body, if you get to an area that needs attention, you can, if you listen to the drum, you can actually hear its sound slightly changing. It might become more dense. Yeah. And then you know to work in that area with the drum.
Right, because the vibrations told you which areas suddenly changed. Again, it's like the magnetic field changing and the feather flipping. It's just another indication of that's where you need the help. Yeah. And this is, again, it's just another really important one. Like, how can anyone understand this without understanding the mechanics?
Yeah, it's just basic.
You know.
But it's lovely once you know.
Yeah.
And it's being able to, I mean, what we normally do when we make our own drums, we become one with our drum. So
this is what happens in rituals, right?
Yeah,
like if you go to some indigenous tribe and you see a tribe gathered round and they're banging them drums and they're letting go of their spirit and their energy, and we just look at that and go, but so far off of BBC One television, it's crazy. But to them, they are actually tuning themselves in with
their drum.
With their drum.
So healing can be sent via us through the drum.
And there's
from the drum as well.
I mean, the fact that these are older tribes and indigenous says it all, because the knowledge they have is not suppressed. It's still within their
Well, the third shaman that I worked with was Peruvian. I believe he was Peruvian, and he taught shape-shifting. So he taught me how you can shape-shift from a person into an animal. And it was absolutely amazing.
Again, that's transferring your energy.
Yes,
yeah. It's not physically Odo from
no,
Star
you're
Trek
not suddenly
changing.
Not going to suddenly see a tiger there.
But you'll suddenly be inside that tiger's mind, and all of a sudden, then you're running around like a tiger.
You are. You're feeling it.
But it's
you become.
You're almost charming the animal.
Yeah. Well, you become within yourself, not outside of yourself. You still look the same.
Yeah.
But within yourself, you're that animal. So you shape-shifted into that animal, so you're feeling what that animal feels. And now
I'm with you. So
how
you're mirroring.
Used to do it.
You're actually mirroring what they're feeling and what...
Well, they used to put like a black cloth over you, so you'd be in the middle of the big circle medicine wheel, and they put a black cloth over, and everybody, or just the shaman, will start drumming, or we might have some assistance, and then all of a sudden the people naturally move, and you can actually tell what animal they are under the cover.
Yeah, and they might turn into an animal that give a specific movement, and then you're like, that's a crow, or that's a
when
whatever.
People experience it for themselves first times, when you say it sounds crazy, but when you actually experience it,
it's a different thing altogether.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely
and it might look crazy to anyone who's watching, but but what that person is going through is real, and it's a real feeling, and
it's a real thing. They really feel.
And I guess this is what ties in, I guess, to Jake Barber's testimony recently, where he says that the remote viewer taps into the consciousness of the craft, and then he physically brings it in because he is
in the
now
driver's
part
seat.
of it. He's now put himself part of it and brings it in. And it's amazing.
Really clever.
Yeah,
it's clever.
Because that's how they've worked out how to bring them in rather than trying to chase them, right? And that's why they've got the technology that they've got. It must be. And people don't come up with that stuff because they dreamt it up. Yeah. They must know. But I mean... Yeah. It explains a lot.
Yeah, I met a couple of... 3 guys years ago. And they were well into UFOs. They're always getting in trouble. Always. Always going where they shouldn't go. Yeah,
that's comes with the job, right?
Military stuff and things like that. And in this area, we've got quite a lot of military at the south of England, anyway.
Yeah, you're between 2 bases right now. Yeah.
Well, they had this radio station, so when I was going to this place called the Barn, this is how I met them, because they wanted us to do a talk on the holistic stuff that was going on within the barn and that. So they wanted this lady Andrea to sort of give a chat to them. And then I lost contact with them, but when I started with the paranormal stuff, or was it the other way around? It could have been the other way around, but with the paranormal stuff, they were talking about UFOs and how we had lots in the area and certain hotspots.
So
one of them was an abductee. He would get abducted. Lovely guy. And then with the paranormal group, we actually went on a walk. And these guys really attracted the attention of the military. They really did. Because wherever they went, they had this piece of equipment. And they said to us, right, we're just going to pop this in the ground.
Okay.
And it will send out certain frequencies to draw in any UFOs.
So, hang on a minute. This was when you were...
This was years ago.
When you were like 50, 40?
Yeah, when I was in my 50s. Yeah.
So they were fully aware,
yes.
15, 20 years ago, how to contact and bring these things in, because that's essentially what you're doing.
Well, that's what they were saying, because I looked at it and I said, that's really strange, and it was kind of like silver. They'd made it,
This is huge.
Yeah.
Because you're essentially just saying, you're essentially saying that you did what Jake Barber's testimony is, what he's just put out on News Nation, which a lot of people are doubting.
Okay.
And you're saying that this was doable 20 years ago.
Well, that's what they told me. And they placed it in the ground, and it opened up. And then it sent out some kind of frequency which we couldn't hear.
Something mechanical was placed in the ground, and this thing opened up.
Yeah. It was like a radio thing. They'd made it.
Right, so it's almost like a satellite thing just opens up.
Just opened
up.
up.
And then they sent out frequencies. Yeah. So I'm guessing radio frequencies.
But it wasn't like a satellite, but yes.
Yeah, but it must have been radio frequencies, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, we know today what bands we're receiving signals on. We've learnt that over the last 7 years.
Yeah.
So, we're just connecting dots.
Yes.
And I say it because I want you to be. I know what you're saying is credible. But if we're connecting what we know as fact with what you're saying... I don't really just remembered
while we're sitting here talking.
This is great because, that's a big thing. That's a big thing.
Yeah. So they used to do this, and every time they did it, and we were there at the time, we had to make a dash for it because the military helicopters came over. So I don't know whether they're tapping into UFO, into the military or whatever. I don't think they were tapping into the military.
But they may have picked up on your signal and thought, what the hell is that? And what are they doing? They might have done. Because that's not your normal pedestrian...
It's a shame I don't know where they are because they were such interesting guys.
I mean, look, if they don't want to be found, they won't be found, right?
Well, one went missing because
completely
missing. Yeah, that was. He was very much like me. He had experiences where the walls would start moving and become very sort of translucent. But he used to get really frightened. He felt that he was taken quite a number of times. They used to take him.
So he probably was frightened to death.
He was frightened. He had bad experiences, like the walls would come in and then the ETs would come through and they would take him. Lovely, lovely lad. Lovely. Really lovely. They actually got arrested, the three of them, I heard, through the grapevine, and were sent to prison. Not normal prison, though, I don't think.
No, not somewhere where they could talk.
He never came. He came out, they came out, but he disappeared completely.
He never did?
Yeah. No, he did come out of prison.
Oh, but then he just vanished?
He just vanished completely. They could never find him. Not hair or television.
Do you think that's by choice? Do you think maybe he just thought, you know what, I'm out now, I'm getting away from everyone?
He might have done. I don't know. But they were very interesting guys. Didn't quite understand at that time what they were doing.
What would you say to him if he's watching?
I'd love to see him again.
There you go.
Really nice.
If you're watching, you know this lady, and you know you're that person. Get in contact, and Karen will know your voice straight away.
Yeah. And very knowledgeable, very knowledledge. At the
you
knowledgeable
can understand
stage
why
that
someone
we're at
might
now.
hide away.
Yes, I can.
Especially after losing half your years in prison or whatever.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can understand.
But it's all coming out now, right? So hopefully these people can come forward. Not only that, people you knew can come back to us.
Be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be really nice. That would be lovely, that would.
Sorry, continue.
Yeah, so where were we?
Sorry, I threw you right off. I thought that was really important.
Shamanism, but I think, yes, we've covered the shaman side, really, haven't we? So that's another part of who I am.
Walking. So now we're at walking.
Yes, the big one. Yeah.
So this is where it all changed for you, effectively.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. Normal day.
How old were you, roughly?
I was...
So we're probably going back a little bit.
Yeah. I was about 38.
You're my age.
39. Yeah.
My age now when you had a walk-in.
Yeah.
And for some reason, when I first heard this, I assumed you were much younger, but actually a middle-aged woman.
Yes, yeah, that's it. Construction worker.
Explain to the audience what a walk-in is. Because it's not like a supermarket shop.
The only way I can explain it for me personally, because obviously each experience is different.
Yeah.
And my experience was quite profound. Normal day, went to work at Shore Trust. I was doing the MVQ teaching at that time for adults with special educational needs.
Yep, getting them back into work.
So I was going over to the local shop because Haven County Council asked us to do the 5 a day. You probably heard about the 5 a day. Years ago they brought out the 5 a day, but the 5 a day was originally brought out to teach young mothers how to shop for good quality food at a low price and then cook those meals that would go round a family rather than eating a ready meal.
And you save and you'd eat it better.
And basically I was going to get the shopping for that particular course that we were going to be doing. Felt fine in the morning, went to work quite normal, no problems before.
Okay.
Quite healthy. Obviously,
up
in construction, it's up and down ladders.
Yeah, you would be physically good shape, right?
And really good shape. Didn't sense anything bad or anything, and I'm just walking along, and bang, the next thing I know, I'm coming round on the floor.
Wow, just blackout, lights out.
I wasn't rushing, just a complete, utter blackout.
Yeah.
People around me. And I felt really strange. I felt like I didn't know where I was, what was going on. My vision was a bit sort of in and out. I didn't bang my head or anything when I went down, but my vision wasn't too good. And I felt quite shaken, which is natural.
Yeah.
And I sat there for a while and they said, do you need an ambulance? And I said, no, I don't think I need an ambulance. I'm kind of fine. And I kind of didn't end up getting the shopping, but I went back to the centre where I worked and I just said, I need to go home. I just need to go home. I said, I feel really strange. So I had to have a cup of tea and something to eat first.
Yeah.
Got in my car, drove home, came in the house, went to bed. 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later, so you lost 2 weeks.
I
just
lost
woke
2
up
weeks.
2 weeks later.
Yeah, I was waking up. I was very disorientated and not feeling very well.
And during that 2 weeks, you had like doctors come and see you, I guess, and
not
family
straight
over?
Away. No, not straight away. I had family here anyway, so not straight away. I kind of...
Because it's almost like a coma, right?
Yeah.
2 weeks?
Well, it was asleep, but not asleep. It was weird. I was like floating around the house. And
so you consciously remembered the time that you was in bed?
Yes. But I was always in bed. I just had
you just never physically left the bed.
No energy. And I remember I needed to go to the toilet. Obviously, you got to go to the toilet. And I walked into the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and I screamed the place down.
Wow.
I just literally screamed because the face that was looking back at me wasn't my face. And that was one of the strange things.
This is the face you have to this day, right?
Yes.
Because your face hasn't changed.
No.
But to you in that moment, you looked different. To me in that moment,
I looked different.
Because this is the first time that your conscious had looked at this image, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And that's how you knew it was a walk-in.
Yeah. Well, I didn't at the time.
Well, you knew something had happened, but you didn't know what it was and what it was called and what the...
Yeah, and it's like when my children were around, I knew who they were, but I kind of thought, well, who are you? Like disorientated. Anyway, I did end up at the doctor's, ended up having full-blown examinations, head, everything. Everything was done. Everything came back clear. Absolutely, 100% clear. Vital organs, everything absolutely fine.
No test come with anything abnormal.
Nothing abnormal yet you was whatsoever.
Weak.
Very, very weak.
Unable to walk properly.
That's right.
Eat.
Yeah, didn't hardly eat at all. Food was like strange to me. It was weird.
It's like you were born again.
Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose you could say that.
Weird, eh? And you was mid-life, like 38, 39.
Yeah. That's it.
Oh, it's so weird.
Yeah, it was. It was the weirdest time. And it was during dial-up as well.
Yeah.
And I, after sort of being with the doctors, they wanted us to check the gas to make sure I didn't have poisoning, and they went through everything and they literally couldn't find anything.
They went so far as to check the gas in the house.
Yes, they did. They did, because they thought I could be sort of getting poisoned.
Yeah.
They did loads of bloods.
Medical then wasn't great But they had an idea if there was something wrong
that's it.
Back then.
They were quite concerned, actually, because they said, we can't find any reason for you to be feeling this way. And so they started sort of getting together, and then they said, well, maybe you've got ME, or you've got fibromyalgia. And I kind of looked at it and I thought, well, fibromyalgia, I didn't know much about those two things at that time. I think the ME was yuppie flu. It was for high achievers, wasn't it? Do you remember? You might remember the yuppie flu era.
I heard about it, but it's not something...
It's people that sort of high achievers and work really, really hard and non-stop, and then they get this flu that knocks them flat, and many poor souls can't walk or function.
Right.
So similar kind of things were going on with me. So they kind of put it down to that. But then I started with all the allergic reactions, and
that's weird, right?
That's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Because
you don't just become allergic to something, right?
You don't. But it was so bad that if I ate something, I was never sure whether I was going to have an allergic reaction. It was like my body had become super, super sensitive. So I couldn't take tablets, shampoos. I could use one day, I couldn't use the next day. I'd come out in burning rashes. Wow. I had 3 years of being stuck in the house because I couldn't go out in the sunshine.
That's crazy.
I know.
You spent your life being able to go out.
No.
And then for 3 years you couldn't.
Yeah. So I had a sun allergy, and if I did go out, I had to have covers all over me to get me from A to B.
To get you from A to B.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You'd be like a vampire.
Yeah.
Being walked around like a celebrity.
Well, I could burn. And I even went from St John's Hospital, which is next to Great Ormond Street. I went there and had extensive tests done, where one of the blood things that they did on me had to go in a brown paper bag. It was weird. I had some weird tests done on me at St John's, checking out for this sun allergy, lots of blood taken.
Well, at the end of the day, your skin's coming up in a rash.
Yeah.
And they need to get to the bottom of it, and they're all question marks. They don't have a clue.
No.
So.
No. And they just didn't. They just didn't have a clue.
Yeah. It's not like you were coming in saying, I've got these symptoms and making it up.
Yeah.
Like they could physically see it.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't explain it. And you had a history of not getting these symptoms. So
that's right.
They must have been baffled.
Yeah, and it wasn't anything like dermatitis or anything like that. It was, it was just suddenly one day.
Because it wasn't just one thing that was affecting you, it was everything.
Yeah. So they were concerned because, like, they said to me, I can only take penicillin, amoxicillin. I can't have any other antibiotics because I had to carry an EpiPen everywhere I went.
Blimey,
just in case I had an allergic reaction. Not that I went out that much, but if I went from here to the garden, the
just
EpiPen
that much of a risk
come.
based on anything that could harm you. Like.
And they just weren't quite sure what they could do, and they said, we don't know, these allergic reactions could actually end up killing you. They said it's that bad, how bad it really was, it was really bad.
Yeah.
So I could eat a strawberry, but the next day I couldn't. And my mouth would swell, and it just went
crazy.
I know.
And for 3 years, so how did you get yourself better?
Wow.
Why did I ask?
Well, I
have to.
How I got myself better is by getting an answer to a degree.
Okay.
And I was on a group in Yahoo, spiritual group, people talking about spiritual stuff. And this lady just wrote, walk-ins. And just another sentence, can't remember what it was just the walk-ins. And I jolted just at reading that. And I wrote to her and I said, walk-ins, what is walk-ins? And she came back and she said, right, calm down. She said, I can see that this has resonated with you. And she said, I just need you to stay calm, she said, and I will tell you. And I typed back to her. So anyway, she did send me, I had to wait for this message, and she explained to me that a walk-in is somebody who's, in some cases, a soul will walk out and a new soul will walk into the body. And in other cases, the remaining soul can stay in the body and the walk-in is present as well.
Two souls.
But
that's just greedy.
Well, it's very greedy.
I'm joking.
Oh no, it's very greedy. There was a lot more to it.
Yeah,
there is a lot more to it.
Sure.
You know, there's different theories now, and it's good. It resonated so much with me. And then when I explained to her my whole situation, she said, "You've had a walking experience. You don't have to believe it, but if you don't want to."
That's just what she thinks.
But she said the new soul, she said, you seem to be sharing, she said, to a degree, because a lot of things I've forgotten. I can remember lots of parts of my childhood, but some parts I can't remember at all.
Yeah.
And I have no brain injury. I had a brain test, so there's no injury to the brain. So there's no reason why I can't remember. Yeah. My mum used to get a bit cross, you know. She'd say, "Surely you remember that, but you can remember being born, and you can remember this.
Exactly.
But you're not remembering that."
Yeah.
episode.
How can you remember something 9 days old, but you can't remember something that happened when you were 20?
That's it. And I did read all her information. It was very good. And at that time I was talking to a beautiful lady in the US called Denise, and a lovely lady, I'm going to call her T, in Alaska.
Okay.
Very spiritual, very much into walk-ins, star beings, very advanced in their time, ET and UFOs. T was very, very into UFOs. And Denise in Alaska used to see loads of them all the time.
Yeah.
But she was kind of more connected to that side of things as star beings. And I'd been talking to him before I found out about the walking experience, so it was nice to actually put it past them to see what they felt as well. But how I met T was, I got this message on Yahoo. I'd put a photograph up. Beautiful, you know, just a basic photograph with light in an arch and lots of orbs in different shapes.
Like what you have
yes.
here?
Yeah.
I'll show you the example. But
yeah. And this guy wrote to me and said, "My boss says, can you take that photograph down?"
So this is one you put up on...
Yes, put up on the Yahoo group.
Yahoo.
Yeah, just put it up.
And they've seen it and gone, can you take it down? Without even asking any details, just can you take that photo down?
Yeah, can you take that photograph down now? My boss would like your number, she needs to talk to you. So I wrote back, I went, no.
Get stuffed.
No.
They're my orbs.
And I kept on getting bombarded with messages from this man. And in the end I thought, okay. I said to Denise, what do I do, Denise? She said, just talk to the boss. We didn't know it was a female at the time. And so I gave him a phone number, and instantly my phone rang.
Right.
And it was T in Alaska. And she said to me, she said my name, and she said, "Karen," she said, "you really do need to take that photograph down." So I said to her, "Why do I need to take it down?" She said, "Because it's a star map." And I went, "I beg your pardon?" She said, "It's a star map." She said, "What happens is when UFOs want to come through, they throw down a star map through the dimensions so that they can come through the dimension," she said, "into our dimension or wherever they're going, and they follow this star map." And she said, "And you are going to have the men in black knocking on your door if you don't take that photograph down." And I looked at this photograph and I thought, wow, I can't see it. You know, like you
it's just a photo of some stars, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a photograph of an arch and stars in between, but they're actually not in the sky. They're within the picture.
Within the picture,
yes.
Within the portal. Or
yes.
Within the...
So I can see it now.
Right.
I can see it now.
So they are literally images of the actual stars in their formation.
Yes.
Which is why she wanted you to take it
down. It was almost ground level.
Right.
Yeah. So they go from, she said that they travel from one place to another.
You can understand where she was coming from.
I can.
Yeah.
I can, and the more I learned, you know, the more we talked, and it was all messaging, phone calls. We did have phone calls, normal phone, you know, not mobile.
Yeah. Didn't have one with the cord.
Yeah, the cord.
And
that's it. So I had a number of calls, and she had a really interesting story. I mean, she was currently at that time.
I mean, she would, with her knowledge, she would have some, right?
Yes. Well, there was twofold, because she was sort of fighting for the native people in her country, in Alaska, to get their lands back. So she was Native American,
right?
Which I didn't know at the time. And she was also working as part of I don't know if it was a government. It was a society. It was something she was working for, where she had a film crew because she used to film.
Right.
And she finally told me that actually she used to go out filming for UFOs. She would have to write reports, stuff like that. And I didn't disbelieve her. You know, I just thought, that sounds like an interesting job.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty cool. And she was telling me that she actually worked for higher people, higher up. Mm-hmm. So she didn't tell me too much, but she did ring me one day and say to me, we've had a really bad incident. She said we were asked to go down these tunnels and film. Now, this was years ago. I mean, literally.
This is getting really interesting now.
Yeah, so. This is years ago. We're talking 1999, 98, 99, yeah? So this is years ago. Mm-hmm. So she'd been asked to go down. So the crew set up all the cameras and they were investigating down there because it was do you know in America they have these deserted towns?
Yep.
And it was one of those.
Right.
But people had been seeing strange stuff, and she didn't actually go into great detail what the stuff was. And she said, so he wanted us to go down because certain shapes and things, beings, are being seen going into these tunnels. I don't know if they were like old coal tunnels or whatever tunnels they were, but they were underground. So they went in, and the guys that were filming were ahead of her and the rest of her crew, and they suddenly dropped to the floor. The camera guys did, literally dropped to the floor. And
what, just like...
Yeah, bang, like passed out.
Right, so they weren't like dropping down to get out of the way, they just passed out.
No, they just dropped down. It turned out that one of them died and the other one was seriously ill. So they managed to get them out, and they kind of felt it was to do with some toxins down there.
I was going to say, it sounds gassy, right?
Yeah. So anyway, when they sent a test crew down to test for what was there, it was clear. So, you know, so they didn't actually work out what happened.
Right.
But she started talking about reptilians, and to me, just briefly, and I thought, what on earth are reptilians? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You do. I mean, this is like 1998, 99.
I mean, it's crazy going on at that point.
Crazy. So I've always kind of, now it comes, you know, I can look back on it and think, goodness me, that was kind of a real big bit of information that she sort of gave me back then. And obviously she did talk to me more about the different forms of aliens.
Yeah.
And she used to photograph a craft arriving at her house. No, a craft leaving her house, and I would get a photograph directly afterwards of it landing here on my garage roof. Not a big craft, but big enough. But we had some... she was really clever. She wanted to do lots of different things. She was always trying out new things, and she said, when I was doing the paranormal stuff, she said to me, oh, Karen, she said, I wonder if I can come through the portal, or I can send, while you're out on the paranormal investigation, sort of kind of like join you or say something and see if you're... Because we always used to film because we went to the tunnels here. Right. And we would film down there.
So while you were filming, she would try and make contact with you?
Yes.
And how did that work out?
Well, she told me she was going to do it because we had an event that day, me and Elaine, but I completely forgot. You know, I sort of went down, we filmed it and what have you, and I came home, Elaine went home, and she suddenly rang me up and she said, Karen, I've just been going through the footage. She said, you're not going to believe this. She has this voice going, Karen, it's tea. And she said, it's tea.
I bet your hairs stood up on your arms, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Oh my God. Because you would have been like, oh my God, I forgot.
Yeah.
And then it probably took a few moments.
Yes, it did. So, of course...
so that was only heard on the camera?
Yes, it was only heard on the film.
So it was a frequency that she'd sent over.
Yes.
It took a while to get there, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. It took a while to get there. There was a time delay. But then, obviously, I think at the time, you know, we had the time on it, but it was in UK, but... obviously, you know, Alaska's quite a long way away.
Yeah.
So...
That's mad.
And there was another time she said she was going to walk through the portal, and she said I needed to walk through mine, and maybe we'll be able to see each other if we stand in them or whatever, and we did.
What?
We actually, yeah, she was at the bottom of my garden. Yeah, just standing there. We just waved. Yeah, it was mad.
She's in Alaska and you're here?
Yeah.
And you could see each other from end to end? From each side of the portal?
Yeah.
If that's not proof that there's a portal, then...
But you've only got my word for it, but...
But when you went to Wales over the Christmas period, you closed your portals here?
Yes, I did, yeah.
And you took them with you?
Yeah. I opened them, I reopened them in Wales, yeah.
And it's not like a... Just explain that briefly. Like, how do you close a portal down? Because again, it's a little bit like morphing a tree.
Energetically, yes, energetically. The portals are another story, which we will talk about. But energetically, you will close them down.
And then reopen the energy.
Yeah, I work with them every day. Basically, I check on them, make sure the energy's flowing. I closed them down because I was going away for 3 weeks, and even though I could tune in to here, I like to take that energy with me because it flows. It flows with us. So,
and it was
flowing. I don't know how I knew that they would do that, but I just knew. So, and my daughter has a very similar arch, and I opened up in Wales. It was just basic, but something that I naturally do. So, where portals are concerned,
and they're just like orbs that we're seeing. And again, I'll show you more photos, but you've taken photos at different stages of the night time, different days, different times. Generally at night you're seeing lights and all kinds of things zipping through on your camera when you're filming out there. It's just out there. We're going to go and have a look soon. But so like all of the action happens just out there, literally with you.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, they came about because I didn't actually know they were there. You know, I mean, they came about because I was training within traditional craft, and I had a teacher that came along, and his lovely name was Fred, and he was an Alexandrian, and he was lovely, lovely, lovely guy. And he just kept saying to me, he was my friend's husband, and he kept saying, "You're a natural, Karen. You know, you really are." He said, "You probably were rich in a previous life or whatever, but he said you're an absolute natural at magic and stuff." So I was training with him currently at the time. Had some great experiences. It's another story.
Yeah. We can't squeeze all of it, unfortunately.
No, we can't. So,
but we can do our best.
Yeah. And what I'd done, and it was Helen and I actually, so we've known each other a long time.
Helen's Karen's friend, and she's a slightly different profession in terms of...
She's a druid.
So she's a druid.
She's a druid craft she likes, and she's very, very good at remote viewing.
Cool.
But
and that's
she's a bit of a loose wire, isn't she?
Yeah, so you actually keep her in a safe zone when you guys remote view, and you do that together.
Yeah.
And exciting times as well, because you girls actually want to do a live remote view with me eventually.
We will too. Yeah.
We will. And that's going to be a mind-blowing thing for people to witness.
It is.
I'm going to try and be here for it because I really want to feel what's going on. But if not, we will do it over the cameras, and when you ladies are ready, of course. But I've briefly spoke to Helen before, and she's lovely.
Oh, she's happy for it anyway.
Yeah,
she is.
She's game.
Well, yeah.
Brilliant. I mean, I'm going to be learning just as much as you guys when that goes down. I know I've done one remote view with you in terms of being on the camera and listened in.
Yeah.
But I feel like being there would be a different experience.